Well, why don't we start with Lamar Jackson? Because clearly he has been incredibly well discussed, let's just say, over the last 6 months, with this incredulity that the Baltimore Ravens could not get him signed, and the sort of disbelief around the NFL that he really might, even as a restricted free agent, might get to the market. So we're recording this middle of the afternoon Eastern time on Tuesday, March 14. And so on March 15 is the first time that Lamar Jackson can entertain suitors, can talk to other teams if he so chooses. How that will happen is going to be very weird because he does not have an agent, does not have anybody even somewhat representing him, even in a part-time capacity. And so therefore, somebody, if they want to talk to Lamar Jackson and where exactly is that candidate, somebody is going to have to find a way to get to Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson, early Tuesday afternoon, put out a tweet in which he basically said, 3 years, $133 million guaranteed, and I need an agent. And so, you can see the tweet right here, and fully guaranteed. But I do want to tell you just a couple of things, and Myles, I'm going to get your feeling on this. But 8 days ago, in my column, I wrote that the only thing left for these two teams was a short-term, fully guaranteed contract. And I suggested 2 years at like $90 million or maybe $92 million, $46 million a year, because very simply, Lamar Jackson seemed to be intractable. And I say seemed to be because none of us have heard it from his mouth, but seemed to be affixed to getting a fully guaranteed contract only. So I said, okay, if you're the Ravens and you have no other options and you really do want Lamar Jackson to continue being your quarterback, then cut this whole thing in half. Give him a 2-year guaranteed contract, maybe 3, but probably 2, and sell it to Lamar as saying, okay, listen, here's what's going to happen. You're going to be a free agent again at age 28. And if you stay healthy the next 2 years, and, which you have not been able to do the last 2 years, but if you stay healthy the next 2 years, you're going to get far more than you would if we gave you a fully guaranteed contract for the next 5 years, because you'll be somewhere in the 60s, on a fully guaranteed deal starting in 2025. But anyway, so it sounds like that now the Ravens have offered him a 3-year fully guaranteed contract, which I guess I would say, well, sometimes you do stuff that maybe you really don't want to do, but what are your options now? Every one of their other quarterbacks is gone. Every one of their other quarterback choices is gone. The Baltimore Ravens fallback position, I believe, was going to be Jimmy Garoppolo. But in order to be Jimmy Garoppolo, they were going to have to get there at the start of the market. And obviously they couldn't do that because they were still hoping to sign Lamar Jackson. So if somehow, some way, Lamar Jackson makes a deal with some other team, the Ravens are absolutely, totally left out in the cold. So to me, this does make sense. And it does sort of follow my sort of, what's the right word to say? The only logic that I could possibly figure out, after last week, which was the only thing that makes any sense is a short-term deal. So if the Ravens have offered him 3 years, I think he ought to take it and just walk back to the team and say, okay, look, we're going to make the best of this for the next 2 or 3 years. And if it just doesn't go well, if we continue to be at some sort of loggerheads, then this will be it, and we'll all move on, say, in 2026.
Yeah, the response I had to that Lamar Jackson tweet was, frankly, I'm just not really sure what it means, right? Because we've heard that 133 million fully guaranteed figure from, I think, 3 reports out of ESPN, the latest of which was from Stephen A. Smith on First Take, where he said that Lamar Jackson's camp had called him and explained to him that that is what the Ravens' fully guaranteed offer was at signing, right? For $133 million. Now, I don't know what the length of that contract was or what have you. So I don't know if that is exactly what Lamar Jackson was responding to or putting out there, or if it was another offer or what. It's sort of, I mean, it's very difficult to know exactly what Lamar Jackson was saying because he didn't really provide any further context to that. So I don't know if, I mean, we can say if that's fair or if that's not fair, but I think the notion of him sort of shying off, I need an agent because I received this, and I rejected it, or I received this even though I didn't have an agent. Like I said, I don't really know what he means, but I think, frankly, yes, it's good to have an agent in these high leverage situations. And I would go back to something that Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports wrote late last week, early this week. I can't quite remember exactly when it was, but he talked to several high profile agents, did not name them. And basically they all kind of took us through what it was that they would have said, what it was that they would have done in these kinds of situations for Lamar Jackson. And I mean, I don't know, Peter, but you look at Josh Allen, who gets a contract after 3 years. You look at even Kyler Murray last year, who got a contract after 3 years. And it was basically very clear and made very clear by Kyler Murray's agent that he wasn't going to be playing in 2022 without a new contract, without new money. And so now we're at a place where Lamar Jackson has played 5 years and he doesn't have any new money. Right. And so right now, as he is on the franchise tag, he is slated to make $32 million in 2023. So I don't really know what we're supposed to conclude other than, I mean, I guess Lamar Jackson is now going to be able to talk to other teams and they have an opportunity to present him with different offers and get him a different offer sheet. But I don't know. Peter, I can't help but feeling like, if Lamar Jackson had an agent, and if Lamar Jackson's desire is to stay with Baltimore, then this situation would have been resolved by now, and Lamar Jackson would have gotten new money by now, which he has not gotten because he doesn't have a second contract. It's just, we're in this unique spot. And when he says, and I need an agent, it's kind of, my first reaction is, yeah, I think that you do. Because this is a prime situation and maybe the best example of what an agent can do for you versus what you're doing for yourself, especially as a quarterback in this kind of high leverage spot.
Look, the fact is, Tom Pelissero put this very, very well on the Rich Eisen show one day last week. He put it perfectly. He basically said, look, if he had an agent, the agent never would have allowed him to take the field to play the last 2 years of his contract after winning an MVP at 1.7 and 23 million.
Yes.
So, and there's one other thing about this, Myles, that I think for everybody, Richard Sherman has said this, agents are overrated, you don't need one. Possibly. Okay. But in this particular case, you just raised the best point that many quarterbacks get contracts redone after 3 years if they've had great success in the NFL. And Lamar Jackson, after winning the MVP in 2019, there was nothing he could do in year 3. He had to play year 3 at $1.3 million. It's an NFL rule, nothing you can do about it. However, after that 3rd year, he was very able at that point to do a new contract, which they went back and forth, obviously, with no agent. They couldn't do a new contract. So then he played his 4th year with no new money. An MVP in the National Football League, playing quarterback, who runs around a lot. He played the next year for $1.77 million. Okay, got hurt and missed most of the end of the season. Then he goes in and he plays the 5th year option year at $23 million. The exact same thing happens. He gets hurt in early December, and he's out for the year, for the rest of the year. And what is maddening about this, is that there are those out in the player world and fan world who say big deal. He should be able to do whatever he wants to do. Of course he should be. But if the object is to make as much money as you can in your quarterback, or in your career rather, you have to start making the money and turning on the money faucet when you can. And in a quarterback world, a first-round draft pick quarterback world, you can do that after the third year. But Lamar Jackson, instead of turning on the spigot of getting a lot more money and already being in the middle of his second contract right now, he is fighting with very few suitors available on the outside. He is fighting the Ravens now for his first contract after 5 years.
Yeah.
Look, players are allowed to do whatever they want to do. Teams are allowed to do whatever they want to do. But don't act like it's idiotic for people questioning you. Frankly, it has not been intelligent that a quarterback who has won an MVP award in year 2 of his career would then play the next 3 years without a contract adjustment. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. Well, honestly, Peter, I agree with you, man. I mean, it just doesn't feel right that quarterback would have played the last 3 years without a second deal. And as you said, you're not eligible until after year 3. But this is why, and I've said this many times over the course of this offseason already, if you're Joe Burrow, you're Justin Herbert, or you are Jalen Hurts, you are not taking the field in 2023 without a new contract. Now, whether that contract comes, in April, in May, or in July, when a lot of these deals do get done in that, dead period, which I use quotes for, between mini camp and the start of training camp, and that is when a lot of these quarterback deals get done. Those guys are not participating in the 2023 season without a new deal, right? And part of that is they all have agents who are negotiating those things for them. And the teams know this, they set aside budgets for this. And it's not always going to be cap prohibitive and all these different things because teams figure out ways to manipulate the cap, signing bonuses and void years and all these other different types of things. So we're in this situation right now because Lamar Jackson did not get a new contract after his third year, which frankly, he probably should have. And, whatever happens next, it all to me stems back from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, we've spent a long time seemingly all through this early off season about Lamar Jackson. I'll just repeat one thing that I've written a couple of times. I've said, and look, I like Lamar Jackson. He is a friendly guy. He is a beacon in his locker room. His teammates love him.
Yeah.
And so I don't say this out of malice in any way, shape, or form. But the fact is, I even think the Ravens, if it's 3 years, $133 million, man, the last 2 years, Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens have had 12 games in December and January. Lamar Jackson has started and finished 1 of the 12. He's missed 34% of the snaps in the last 2 years for the Ravens. And so to fully guarantee his contract over the next 3 years, that is a risky venture for the Baltimore Ravens.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.